This is CBC Here and Now.
36 temperature records have been broken over the last couple of days. We're going to say goodbye to that heat for a little while. We've got some more snow on the way for Labrador.
Nobody knew during that consultation process what we were going to lose. This is a win-win.
There's a lot of controversy around the Western School of Nursing using the Corner Brook Annex as their new home. I'll try to break it all down for you and get those questions answered.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Peter Cowan.
And I'm Carolyn Stokes. Our top story tonight, a grieving family still waiting.
3 years after losing her youngest daughter in a side-by-side rollover, a Bonavista mother is still waiting for promised changes to the province's outdated ATV and snowmobile laws. It's still not mandatory to wear a helmet on a side-by-side or a snowmobile. Here Now's Ryan Cook worked on the award-winning series Fatal Fun 2 years ago. Tonight, he follows up with this report.
Heidi Dunn was 13, full of life and music, when she was killed driving a full-size side-by-side.
All head injury, and I've never read the police report, which I will never read it. I have no interest. I don't want to know the gruesome details.
That was her mother speaking to CBC 2 years ago. She was devastated, but she took some comfort in a promise that laws were changing. It was expected helmets and seatbelts would become mandatory, but here we are 2 years later, and nothing has changed. The RCMP announced a new enforcement campaign this week for ATVs in the province, but they won't be able to ticket any helmetless riders on side-by-sides. That's because when the legislation was created, side-by-sides weren't really a thing. An ATV is defined as a vehicle that a driver sits astride, meaning one leg on either side. That's not a side-by-side, and therefore the same rules do not apply. ATV riders have to be 16 years old. Side-by-side drivers, though, can be as young as 12. When it comes to fines, a first offense carries a max of $200, even if it caused death. In Heidi Dunn's case, the province's Child Death Review Committee recommended changing these laws and bringing in stiffer penalties. I asked for an interview with Digital Government and Service NL Minister Sarah Studley for this story. She declined. Her office did send a statement this afternoon saying that it's reviewed the legislation and is making changes to all off-road vehicles. They hope to have recommendations put before government soon, but that's something that we've heard before, most recently in September.
Accidents around ATVs are extremely serious, and we take road safety extremely seriously in Digital Government and Service NL. We have committed to reviewing the Act, which is currently in progress, and we anticipate presenting, subject to the approval processes. The legislation is nearly drafted, and we anticipate going through the process and hopefully presenting to the House this fall.
It didn't happen this fall. Sherry Dunn is still wondering when it's going to happen. I reached her by phone in Bonavista yesterday.
What is it going to take to get them to change those rules? It makes me mad and sad. Because, like I said, I know what those parents feel like, and it can be prevented.
Ryan Cook, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, there's a move by the RCMP in this province to bring more diversity to the police force. As Here Now sees Hair reports, a new committee has been formed to better serve the Black community.
The RCMP's Black Engagement Steering Committee is focused on recruitment, looking at ways to get members of the Black community interested in working with the RCMP.
In terms of how we can do everything possible to eliminate, not simply reduce, but eliminate the systemic barriers which exist in terms of recruitment of members of the Black community, not just as police officers, but also within the ranks, which are considerable, of our civilian member cadre and our public servants. This is extremely important.
Exact numbers are not being set, but Parsons says the police force is hiring as many people as it can. He says a committee that tackles barriers and improves engagement is timely, especially considering the Black community in this province is growing while the number of Black police officers isn't. A well-known member of the community will co-chair this committee. Lloydetta Quaco is being credited as being the catalyst for change, approaching Parsons first about improving the relationship between the force and the community.
We also wanted to be proactive in the sense that we didn't want to wait till there was something going wrong and then we showed up. We wanted to say, well, what can we do to build good, positive relationships with the RCMP, see how our young people in our community could see working with the RCMP as a positive, endeavor for them and for their careers.
The committee was only formed this fall and already has members from 8 different countries.
Creating that relationship as well goes a long way to help people feel more comfortable, feel more included in the community, and also for the younger ones have that hope that someday they could be in that uniform.
Cease here, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, meanwhile, the province's privacy commissioner is investigating Happy Valley Goose Bay's body camera policy. The town approved the devices for a bylaw enforcement officer and an animal control officer in March, but Commissioner Harvey still has questions about whether the cameras are in line with the province's privacy laws. He's launching a formal investigation.
We have had some interaction with the town, and we have had an opportunity to review their policy. But there's also, it's been a bit of a back and forth, and there's been times when we don't get answers from them. And all of these months later, the program has been in place the whole time, and we still have concerns about the policy.
As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, 36 temperature records were broken over the last couple of days, and all-time December records as well. Take a look at these numbers. Twillingate and Buckins, for example, breaking records from the 60s and the 70s as far as December warmth goes. Unfortunately, we've said goodbye to that. That 10 degrees in St. John's was after midnight today. Those temperatures have certainly dropped through the day, sitting in those single digits. These were the daytime highs, like I said, 2 degrees for Happy Valley Goose Bay and -5 for Lab City. Now we do have not a whole lot going on, just a few showers moving through for Central. That will generally continue as we head through the next 24 hours, more rain on the way. But Environment Canada has issued a special weather statement for snow in the Sunday to Monday timeframe, but I'll break all of that down for you coming up.
There are 3 new cases of COVID-19 in the province to tell you about tonight. All 3 cases are in the eastern region. A man in his 40s who returned from Alberta is the first one. The other 2 are a man and woman in their 30s, and the source of both of those infections are still under investigation. The Premier and Health Minister faced criticism, though, for holding in-person fundraisers this week. At the same time, health officials are telling people to cancel Christmas parties. After defending the measures yesterday, the Premier apologized.
The message I delivered today, Peter, was that and I think that Minister Haggie spoke to this, that in retrospect, the timing of that wasn't great, and he apologized for that. What I was referencing, though, was that public health guidelines were followed. Perhaps the spirit wasn't reflective of what we're trying to achieve, and for that we're sorry, and we'll endeavor to be better.
The Chief Medical Officer of Health didn't want to wade into the controversy today, although she did touch on it briefly in her remarks.
Throughout this pandemic, I've preached kindness and compassion, and I think that's what we need to apply here. We're in an enviable position, really, when compared to other jurisdictions, and I would like to say that I think the Minister is a big part of that. His willingness to listen to evidence and let the public health science lead to the way is, an important part of our situation, where we find ourselves right now.
Dr. Fitzgerald, a lot of people have been wondering what your take is on these events. Again, they followed on all your rules, but they came the same week that you were recommending employers not hold similar events. What do you make of these in-person fundraisers?
So I think I answered those questions in my opening remarks, so I don't really have anything else to say about that, Peter. If you'd like to ask another question, you can please go ahead.
I listened to your remarks, and it didn't really seem to directly address these specific events, though, because a lot of people have been wondering about it.
So, I think once again we've been fairly clear in what we expect, and I think people have apologized, and I think we need to move on from there.
The Premier's office says since September there were 12 in-person fundraising events, all following the rules. The PCs say they've had just a single fundraiser in October. The NDP didn't respond to my questions about their numbers.
Well, Nalcor is explaining how it structures its bonuses after the Sunshine List exposed how much extra executives and senior managers made last year. The Crown Corporation paid out nearly $3 million on top of salaries in 2019. About half of that went to executives. Nalcor says it calculates the percentage based on a person's salary. 106 people were given bonuses last year. According to the corporation, bonuses are not guaranteed and a threshold has to be met in order for employees to qualify. Now, according to the Sunshine List, CEO Stan Marshall was given a $315,000 bonus on top of a six-figure salary. Memorial University is extending winter break without trimming tuition. The university says it's delaying the semester start to ease the stress on students and teachers, but the Canadian Federation of Students is suggesting MUN could do that by cutting fees, especially since most students aren't on campus to take advantage of the services. MUN Provost Mark Abrahams says the university has already stopped charging recreation and distance education fees.
At the end of the day, though, we still have to cover the operating costs of the university, and in the absence of additional money coming in from the province, we still need resources to operate.
Abrahams says there will be some changes in the winter semester. The School of Music is moving to a hybrid mode and will have more of its students participate in person. Some lower enrollment courses are also moving on campus.
The Canadian government released a new plan to protect the oceans this week. Canada and 13 other countries have committed to sustainably manage all of the water under their jurisdiction by 2025. And part of that will include focusing on strengthening fisheries management organizations. The capelin fishery has been an area of concern for many fishermen in this province for years. They say there isn't enough research being done to ensure there's enough capelin to sustain the ecosystem that depends on it. Federal Fisheries Minister Bernadette Jordan says that as of now, there are no plans to stop the capelin fishery. But if that changes, the decision will be based on science and sustainability. Back on land now, Newfoundland and Labrador is the last province without a network of fast charging stations for electric vehicles. But that will change at the end of the month. Newfoundland and Labrador Hydro expects its 14 charging stations to be up and running along the Trans-Canada Highway from Port aux Basques all the way to St. John's. To make it across the island right now, someone driving an electric vehicle would have to take a 3-hour pit stop to recharge. The high-speed charging network will slash that time down to 20 minutes. Hydro and Newfoundland Power are planning to build another 19 charging stations, including some in Labrador, by the end of 2021.
Well, to Corner Brook now, where there's a growing controversy involving a local sports venue. The city wants to take the space people use to keep fit and stay active and turn it into a training ground for nurses. It'll mean big bucks for Corner Brook, but as Here and Now's Colleen Connors reports, some sports groups are not impressed.
Corner Brook is getting a brand new $25 million regional aquatic center. It's going to be built here on Grenfell campus and hold a pool and gymnasium. When it was approved in May,
so we immediately, I guess, started to think about what could we now use the annex space for instead.
The annex is a big open room that is now used for recreational sports, craft fairs, and galas. But Parsons believes it would be better used as a nursing school. When the new hospital opens in the city, the School of Nursing will close. So Western Health and the city came up with a plan to turn the annex into a school with lecture space and classrooms at a $4 million cost.
This is a win-win. I can't think of a greater synergy. We're getting the Western School of Nursing is getting a home. We're securing its future for the next 20 years. We're able to offset some of our $1 million subsidy that we currently face with $300,000 of steady income. And of course that there are sort of accelerators and CPI increases with that as well. So it's a great opportunity, and of course it all does it in a way that's in proximity to Grenfell campus, which is imperative for the School of Nursing.
But sports user groups do not share Parsons' excitement.
We all said, you know, a $25 million facility, what an awesome gift to the city of Corner Brook. We got a brand new pool, but nobody knew during that consultation process what we were going to lose.
22 teams play in the volleyball league here, with many teams currently using the annex space regularly. Gaudette doesn't know if the new rec center has the space for them.
If we had to move at the capacity that we are now, we would need 9 hours at Grenfell, 2 courts, to run that on a Sunday.
The city says the new rec center can definitely accommodate space for all sports, and the annex is underutilized, averaging 3.5 hours a week in October. Gaudette is frustrated the volleyball group wasn't part of the decision to close the annex to sports.
I think it's very difficult to say that there hasn't been public consultation on this issue for quite a while. The specifics about where certain space will be, that's in the details.
Mayor Jim Parsons says that things are being finalized, lawyers are involved, but nothing is for certain just yet. And once those plans are in place, the City Council and the province still have to finalize if this building will become a nursing school. Colleen Connors, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Graduates of Holy Heart High School in St. John's picked up their diplomas today. In normal times, there would be a big cap and gown ceremony and celebration.
Yes, but for these graduates in this pandemic time, it was curbside pickup only. I dropped by Holy Heart Theatre to take in the mood of their milestone moment.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be getting your diploma this way?
It's definitely strange. Not what I hoped to be, but everybody else is in the same scenario, so it's whatever.
It's kind of disappointing. I kind of would have liked to have like a real ceremony, and I kind of wish we could have had it later instead of have it later and have it properly instead of have it this way still during the pandemic. But you know, it's better than nothing.
There you go, Luke. It's kind of weird. It's a little bit disappointing, I guess, but you know.
Why is it disappointing?
Just because, like, there's no big ceremony or anything. It's very anticlimactic.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I feel like we got a lot lost out of it. I feel like it wasn't even ended. So that's why I guess it feels, for me, and I guess I can speak for a lot of other classmates, hard to leave high school. Because we didn't have the same closure that anyone else normally would.
What's it been like for you graduating in a COVID year?
It's definitely been different, but I think that where we live was very fortunate. We still got to do some things with our friends, so I think we're very fortunate than other places in the world that graduated, but it was okay.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Definitely, I did miss out on some stuff. Like, I think I would have liked to have my proper graduation and have safegrad and everything, but at the same time, I think it made it kind of more special by having like my last year of school be so different. And I think even though I really didn't like having it interrupted, I think it kind of ended up being a lot different and had a lot more time to like do things myself, and then my grad ended up being more special because I got to have it with my family and stuff.
For me, the biggest thing is like the goodbye to teachers, the goodbye to staffing, the goodbye to like the building that I called home, really, right? I was an active member of the choir for 2.5 years. I really enjoyed that. And of course, just the students, right? Your peers that you may never see again.
What about since you've graduated? Are you going to like post-secondary or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm in MUN, and that's definitely challenging online. It's hard, and I think there's a lot more that comes to it trying to do it online than in person, so.
And the social aspect of it too, I bet.
Yeah, you don't get to meet new people, your profs, and there's no on-campus activities, so.
I really wish I was on campus for that because it's really hard to keep up with like my online classes when everything's asynchronous. It's like pre-recorded and that. So it's really hard to keep up with that. It's pretty different. So in that way, I wish we were on campus. It is disappointing that I don't get to get my diploma like properly and go on campus and all that. At the same time, like I try to find the bright side in it. So like I think like on the bright side while everything happened, like I think having the quarantine and all that gave me a chance to like do a lot more stuff for myself, and I think I honestly felt like happier because of it. So I think like while it's disappointing to have missed out on a lot, I think at the same time there's like a pretty bright side to it too.
I thank them for
a global pandemic, grief, and family.
Coming up on Here and Now, filmmaker Mary Sexton talks about her latest documentary, Me, Mom, and COVID.
Well, big pattern change as we head to the beginning of next week. Big dip in the jet stream. That means some colder air will be in play. I'll have all those details in your full forecast coming up.
pandemic has changed how we're celebrating this December. Many Newfoundlanders and Labradorians won't be home for the holidays. We want to give you a chance to send a letter home. Pull out your smartphone, make sure you hold it horizontally, and record a minute or so greeting to someone you're not going to get to see in person this holidays. You can send it by email to lettershome@cbc.ca. We'll air as many as we can on radio, TV, and online. This Christmas, we can still come together even if we're apart.
Ashley, another gorgeous day today. The sunshine earlier was so nice, and the temperatures are really mild too.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, the day started off warm,
Yeah.
but it has certainly dropped.
Cooled down.
Let's take a look at the temperatures across the board today. Daytime highs in the mid single digits. That 10 degrees there for St. John's was at after midnight, and then that temperature steadily dropped through the day. We're currently sitting at 2 degrees. Similar temperatures through Badger, 5 degrees in Corner Brook, and then below zero for most of Labrador today, or currently right now. Makovic's currently sitting at -2. We do have some showers making their way across central right now, even down through the southwestern portion of the island. That will generally continue as we head through the night tonight, not really picking it up on the future tracker, but that risk is certainly there along the west coast. And then for the northern peninsula, as we head into the early morning hours, and then higher elevations may see some flurries as well. That's the story along the strait. Further inland, better chance of seeing those flurries through the overnight tonight. Temperatures will be moving not too much from where we're sitting now. So 1 degree in St. John's, southwesterlies 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. We're looking at similar temperatures for the west coast. 5 degrees tonight in Port aux Basques, so temperatures not really moving too much. And then 1 degree for St. Anthony tonight. Temperatures will dip for Lab City down to -11. You'll see a wind shift from southwesterlies to westerlies as we head towards the morning hours. Now tomorrow does look unsettled. Those showers will work their way across the island, maybe a few peaks of sun in the afternoon for eastern areas, but overall it will be wet with either showers or drizzle through the day. Quiet up through Labrador, maybe a few flurries, and then another round of showers will move in Saturday night and then bring the potential for some snow for the northern peninsula. Definitely something to keep an eye on. Here's where you'll be sitting temperature-wise. Looks like we should reach 9-10 degrees in the east again tomorrow with that southwesterly wind, about 30 to 50 kilometers per hour. Again, cooler temperatures as you head west. Corner Brook around 4 degrees. Those winds will ease into the afternoon. And then about 3 degrees for St. Anthony with some showers, like I said, through the day. And then for along the strait, either showers or flurries. Further inland's a better chance that we'll see those flurries. 2 degrees, Mary's Harbour 3, and then we're looking at temperatures around -7 for Lab City with the potential for some flurries as well. Westerlies will be anywhere from 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Next system we're going to watch is, like I said, it's going to move in Sunday, bringing some colder air with it. Now, some models for the northern peninsula are changing this over to rain into the afternoon on Sunday. So if that does happen, accumulations will be significantly less. If it stays as snow, then we're going to see more accumulation. It does look like the rain-snow mix at this point with this model is setting up along the strait. So anything in southeastern Labrador will likely fall as snow, which will be at this point looks like it'll be heavy at times. Showers will continue across most of the island on Sunday, and then as we head into Monday, that snow will make its way further south, changing either to rain or snow into the afternoon. So Environment Canada has issued a special weather statement for most of southeastern Labrador. And as far as that snowfall goes, this is just one model's idea, but anywhere from potentially 30 plus centimeters of snow. This is saying that it'll change over to rain. So if that does happen, accumulations for the northern peninsula, 5, maybe 10 centimeters of snow, but could be more if that does change over to, or is rather if it stays as snow. Here's where our temperatures will be sitting on Sunday. Still quite mild across the island, 9 degrees in St. John's, mid to high single digits across the rest of the island. And then again, the northern peninsula, you're hovering around 0, 1, 2 degrees for your Sunday. Temperatures chilly for Lab City, -10. Nain, you're looking at sunshine and -6. But into Monday, Again, those temperatures are going to drop more significantly for the west coast by a few degrees, but that will be the difference between seeing some rain or snow. Certainly in the higher elevations, that risk of snow will spread further through central. Looks like Gander should stay at rain at this point, and then same thing for St. John's. Lab City still staying on that cold edge of that, -9 with some flurries, and then again some light snow or heavy snow at this point for southeastern portions of the Big Land. After that, temperatures drop back down to the low single digits, but it does look like at this point Tuesday and Wednesday will be rainy. Watching something, a storm potentially for Wednesday, depending on the track. We could see some snow probably west of the Avalon, but again, it'll be dependent completely on the track. Just definitely something to think about for next week. Central Newfoundland, temperatures will be a little bit cooler. Looks like you should be on the cold side of that with some snow, and then western Newfoundland as well. You're hovering around the 0-degree mark with some flurries or light snow expected. For eastern Labrador, back down to the minus single digits with snow, and then cool but calm, it looks like in Lab West. Wanted to share this lovely shot. Denise shared this with me. This is Norris Arm Sunset. Thank you so much for sharing that. If you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Mary Sexton's mother, Sarah Sexton, died in February, right before the pandemic began, at the age of 97.
In her latest documentary, Sexton explores how her mother's death near the start of the pandemic impacted the family and why kindness matters.
I consider it a sort of love story for my mom. I become the shepherd, and my sister Edwina becomes the star of the film. It's a documentary about kindness and love.
There was 5 boys and 4 girls.
Edwina is a handful. That's the first thing we would say.
One of a kind, for sure.
Edwina is our oldest mentally disabled sister. As my sister Sarah calls her, she's mom's only child. She's you know, an immature 8 or 9-year-old, I guess, mentally wise, but she's sort of, in the film, my brother calls her, she's our cauliflower and our mustard pickles. Edwina is the oldest sibling, and Edwina lived with my mom for 72 years. And then when mom was starting to decline, we started to realize that we needed to find a place for Edwina to live. We were all willing to let her come live with us, but we thought that she would want to, you know, Edwina never got to go to school away or have her own apartment, so we set her up in her own place at North Pond. So Edwina's chapter of her life was changing as mom's was expiring. Edwina's was a new beginning, a new chapter. So we basically put Edwina in North Pond Manor, and she's been thriving ever since. And then come February, what ended up happening was that she had to, it was lockdown. So, you know, she's in a new place, and she's also in a, you know, she can't see us. So I physically had to go each day out to North Pond and just look at her through the window, set up some photos for her, just to keep her spirits up and to let her know that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, that this soon would be over. Well, COVID factored into this because my mom died February 28th, and she had organized her own wake and funeral right down to the song. And she had booked it at calls. She had the big coffin, you know, the big room for 2 days. So it was a celebration of her life. She was 97. So we were very fortunate to see lots of friends and family. We were a big family. And it was great. Like me and Sarah said, we hugged about 500 people. Then, of course, when COVID happened, at calls, we basically got in and out of calls before all of this transpired. And so we felt that we were very fortunate, and we were very sad for the people that, you know, during COVID times didn't get to have the send-off for their loved ones. And we wanted to show that, you know, calls was an innocent victim within this COVID of what went down.
I'm the daughter of the gentleman who had passed away and then had the funeral at Carl's Funeral Home.
I hope that people realize during this time it's really important for us to be kind to one another. It's, I compare this COVID-19 to AIDS in the film because in the early 80s and 90s, there was a true stigma attached to HIV and AIDS, and people were very miserable and very unkind to our fellow people. And so I really hope that people take some kind, think about what their actions are and how they write things on social media and how they are towards their fellow neighbor. And just be kind and think about others before yourself sometimes. And I think all of us in this COVID time, we have to remember that we're protecting others, including ourselves. So being safe, wearing a mask, we will get through this, and we're very fortunate in Newfoundland. And I hope that we all hold the rope and stay strong and stay safe.
Some fine words there for sure. It looks really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to watch Mary Sexton's 30-minute film, Me, Mom, and COVID, it debuts tonight.
Yeah, it's also available for streaming if you'd rather watch that. It's on CBC Gem, and it's also on CBC Doc's YouTube page. After the break, who will help the province distribute COVID-19 vaccines, and will it be mandatory to get the vaccine? We'll answer those questions. It seems like everyone's talking about vaccines. Today, the Premier announced a task force to deal with the logistics, how to take the vaccines and get them to the high priority groups. This task force will include Dr. Janice Fitzgerald, the Health, Municipal Affairs, Labrador and Indigenous Affairs ministers, as well as someone from the military. Well, starting Monday, this province will be part of a Canada-wide dry run.
It's a tactical exercise that has really already almost started in terms of just the ability to deliver the vaccine itself. So just operationalizing a distribution from other countries to Newfoundland and Labrador. And then the stress after that will be in the coming weeks if we can actually execute then on distributing it about Newfoundland and Labrador, of course, given some of the nuances and some of the challenges with respect to geography, but also in terms of the stability of the vaccine itself.
Now, when that vaccine becomes available, are you going to be forced to take it? The Premier says no. He wants you to take it, but he's not going to make you.
It's a free and democratic society, and people have choices, and sometimes people don't make the right choices, but people have choices. And we are suggesting that once it's approved by Health Canada, that this will be a safe vaccine and that everyone should avail of it when it's available to them.
Well, the number of COVID-19 cases in Canada has topped 400,000. We just heard about the provincial plan. Well, today the country's top doctor has released new details about the national plan. CBC's Hannah Thibodeau has the latest.
Plans are taking shape for a January rollout of a COVID-19 vaccine.
An initial supply of vaccine is expected to become available in early 2021. We know that supplies will be limited at the outset.
That means in the beginning, just 3 million Canadians will be able to get the shot. So today, the National Advisory Committee on Immunization announced a refined list of who will be vaccinated first. That includes residents and staff of long-term care homes, adults 70 years and older, starting with those 80 years and up, healthcare workers, and adults in Indigenous communities where the infection can have disproportionate consequences. The government is also trying to get more vaccine from one of the potential suppliers.
Canada is exercising options for an additional 20 million doses of the Moderna vaccine candidate. This will bring Canada's total allotment of this vaccine to 40 million doses to be delivered in 2021.
But not everyone wants it, and there's a group of the population who will refuse to get the vaccine. Conservative MP Derek Sloan has sponsored a petition in the House of Commons that erroneously claims that the COVID-19 vaccination is effectively human experimentation, and more than 25,000 people have signed it.
It's full of misinformation, it's full of unscientific information, and it is extremely fear-driven.
We need to do a lot of work on the education and communication front, and simultaneous with that is the community engagement piece. Both of those are fundamental pillars of any epidemic response and fundamental pillars of good public health.
The second stage of the vaccine rollout is expected to start in April, when more doses arrive. And the next in line include more essential workers, like police officers and firefighters, but also migrant workers, prisoners, and people in homeless shelters. Hannah Thibodeau, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Goat Dance. We take you to the place the dance was born, Great Harbor Deep, almost 30 years ago. Sunday at noon and Monday at 7.
Welcome back to Here and Now. Tuesday, the 1st of December, was Nunatsiavut Day, which celebrates the creation of the Nunatsiavut government. It's a monumental part of Labrador Inuit history, a day that was 30 years in the making.
Yes, the original ceremony back in 2005 was actually delayed by a day due to poor weather, but our cameras were there for the official signing, so we dipped into the Here and Now archives to bring you this report from the CBC's Tony Dawson.
Freezing rain in northern Labrador kept planes from leaving Goose Bay. But the celebration did go on. Some quick arrangements were made, and Premier Danny Williams, Senator Bill Romke, and other officials joined dozens of Inuit at the Legion. They saw William Anderson and the Nunatsiavut government being sworn in over the internet.
Swear that I will be faithful to Nunatsiavut.
William Anderson is now the president of the new government of Nunatsiavut.
Finally, everything is getting signed, and we got our own government.
And this was a good day?
Lovely day, even though it's raining outside.
I'm excited and very emotional right now. I'm glad for the Labrador Inuit.
My hope is, well, it's hard to explain. I mean, there was so much that can go on, and know that this is all settled away. There's a big future for my son.
The new government quickly passed several bills relating to the new civil service, taxation, and revenue. For the foreseeable future, the Nunatsiavut government will work with the province and Ottawa on issues of health, justice, and education, but the goal is to take control of all of those. Hundreds were entertained by the choir and drum dancers in Nain, and there was entertainment for the stranded crowd in Goose Bay. Premier Williams and Senator Romke made their way to the hospital, where they addressed the new government in Nain via teleconference.
We now look forward to working with the Nunatsiavut government and the federal government to ensure that the agreement will work to the benefit of the Labrador Inuit. Please be assured that our government is willing to assist the Nunatsiavut government in any way possible, particularly during this time of transition.
One of the most disappointed today was MHA Wally Anderson, whose flight couldn't make it to Nain.
I want to be home, and never before did I want to be with people so bad as today, but this is their day, and I got a tremendous, tremendous feeling. It's a long time coming, but it's worth it.
Today's celebration was another important step for the people of Nunatsiavut. The government sworn in today was appointed. Their task now is to prepare for the transition to an elected assembly. That should happen within the next year. Tony Dawson, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
To Nova Scotia now, where 3 people, including the common-law spouse of the man responsible for April's mass killings there, are facing charges tonight. They're accused of providing the gunman with ammunition for 2 guns he used in the rampage. But police say the trio did not know how the ammo would be used. Elizabeth McMillan has more.
Lisa Banfield is alleged to have transferred ammunition for a rifle and a pistol to Gabriel Wortman in the month prior to the deadly rampage. Her brother, James Blair Banfield, and her brother-in-law, Brian Brewster, are facing the same charge. In a press release, investigators said they do not believe the trio had any prior knowledge of the April 18th and 19th attacks that left 22 people dead. Lisa Banfield has never spoken publicly. Today, her lawyer declined to comment. Police have previously said the violence started in Portapic when the gunman attacked and restrained his spouse. Search warrant documents say that day the couple was celebrating their anniversary, and at some point they began to argue. Banfield later told investigators she was there when he lit their cottage on fire, and she escaped after seeing Wortman load weapons into his replica cruiser. She spent the night hiding before knocking on a neighbor's door around dawn. The court documents also show numerous people told police the gunman had a history of violence and was abusive. Banfield is suing his estate. Her statement of claim says she suffered physical, emotional, and psychological injuries. It's a separate lawsuit from the one launched by the families of victims against the estate, and the lawyer representing those families says news of the charges comes as a relief.
They've felt throughout that this was a major piece of the puzzle that was missing. They, through circumstantial evidence and some information from the community, have felt that there was involvement beyond the killer himself. And so this information has helped put their minds at ease to a point.
The RCMP say they will not be commenting further on the mass shootings while the public inquiry is underway. They've previously said Wortman did not have a firearms license and the weapons he used were obtained illegally. All three people are due in court in Dartmouth in late January. Elizabeth McMillan, CBC News, Halifax.
I am from St. John's from Gould, and I'm currently in Tanzania, which is in East Africa.
I am in a city of 10 million people, in a country that is smaller than Newfoundland with 90 million people in it.
Newfoundlanders and Labradorians living around the globe in the middle of a pandemic.
Basically, we shopped at a Needs convenience store, basically. A Needs convenience store equivalent for 2 months.
Like a Marie's mini mart.
Far from home, Wednesdays on Here and Now.
Let's take a look at who's celebrating this week. Happy 55th anniversary to William and Patricia Duffett from Wabush, now living in Eastport. Happy 58th anniversary to Margaret and Eric Diamond from Change Islands, now living in Pooch Cove. Anniversary greetings going out to Jack and Elizabeth Forward of Buckens. They're celebrating 70 years of marriage. Congratulations. Bill and Alice Powers of New Perlican, now living in Carbonear, are celebrating their 63rd wedding anniversary.
Congratulations to Helen and Sid Walsh of CBS. It's their 50th wedding anniversary. Happy 51st anniversary to Randall and Linda Manning from your 3 children and grandson. Happy 50th anniversary to Lloyd and Donna Clements from Labrador City. Wishing Melvin and Ruby Comden of Happy Valley Goose Bay a happy 56th anniversary. Fred and Marjorie Wilkins are celebrating 51 years of marriage. Congratulations.
Happy 57th anniversary to Garland and Rhonda Parsons of Norris Point. Anniversary greetings going out to Margaret and Bram Pitcher of Hopel Trinity Bay. They're celebrating 60 years of marriage. Wishing Alf and Luria Chislett of Anchor Point a happy 62nd anniversary. Now to some birthdays, starting with a big one. Happy 100th birthday today to Vera Pico of Mount Pearl. Happy 93rd birthday to Bill Thibault of Gander.
Muriel Pickett from Centerville is celebrating her 96th birthday. Happy birthday to Hazel Bursey, who's turning 101. Happy 100th birthday to Yvonne Plowman in Port Saunders. Another fine crowd. Congratulations once
So
again.
many smiling faces there.
Yes. Well, a couple outside Winnipeg has found a unique way to pass the time during the pandemic. They've created their very own little lansomenos.
Everyone's got to find a hobby. These reenactors have built a Viking homestead in their backyard, and they were happy to show off their muddy grass handiwork to CBC. Take a look.
We've been wanting to do it for a long time. It's just, we've been doing Viking reenactment for years, and it's something that's always been an interest, but who has the time? And normally we go to Island Dingadagarin in Gimli every August, but of course this year it was canceled. And so we wanted to do something, so it just seemed like the perfect time to do it.
We really didn't know much about Viking building techniques. We've been reenacting, but mostly it's building and making personal equipment, clothes, shoes, pouches, ironwork, things like that, like things for cooking.
We had to do some adaptation, like in England they have like a reed straw, which is like the size of the width of your finger
pinky,
and 8 feet long. We don't have that here, so we actually just use the prairie tall grass that grows like around here. And wow, so much grass, more grass than you could possibly imagine. I'm so sick of grass.
We estimate like every row of thatch has about 130 bundles. Each bundle has about 100 individual strands of grass.
And there's 12 rows.
Yeah, and
so much grass.
12 rows plus the extra that went on top. We estimate there's probably about 175,000 individual blades of grass in this thing.
Big part of it was like giving us something to do instead of, because I own a store. And so, of course, we're closed now. We were closed in March, and then we had limited hours in between, and it's been really depressing, and I don't want to go into that. But so this way, it gave me something to do, and you can see the progression of it, and you can see it getting done.
A lot of it is myth busting. When people hear the word Viking, the first thing they think of is, oh, these savage raiders, these bad dudes, and really, whereas that did happen, the way I describe Vikings are traders. They went all over the place because they love to trade.
We do this as a family. Like, we have 2 kids, and they've been doing it like all their lives as well. Like they've kind of known nothing else.
Our daughter Maya, she helped a lot with the thatching. I'd come home from work and they'd be on the deck chatting and tying bundles of thatch together, and so it was good. It was.
And working on the job, because really it's just a great big mud fight.
Yeah, it's just an excuse to get muddy and dirty.
Wow, they are really into that.
certainly are.
There's something to keep you busy this weekend, everybody.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully you will all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for joining us.
Have a good night.